All right, today we're going to talk about Chapter 3. And Chapter 3 deals with the birth of modern America. And the time period they're talking is 1877, which is when Reconstruction ended, to 1900, turn of the century. This chapter will go over settling the West, the industrialization, the beginning of the immigrants coming to America, and some of the excesses of capitalism and people making gobs of money while other people were making nothing. Okay, so let me begin by talking about the industrial period. In the 1850s, there was a problem that everybody knew the solution to. And that problem was a railroad. Everybody knew in the country that we needed a railroad to go from New York, Boston, Washington, D.C., all the way to California. And that if we had a railroad that went all the way across, that would really help to move our country forward. And everybody knew this. Everybody thought it was a great idea. But there was no money to do it. And so in the 1850s, the federal government tried to do this. There was also a second problem, and that was, what route are we going to take? Now, there were two routes. One of the routes was to go down south. So you would go down through Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Arizona, or New Mexico, Arizona, and end up in California. And the other one was a northern route. And you would go from Chicago through the Plains State, through Utah, Nevada, and end up in San Francisco. The problem with those routes is everybody also knew that if you build a railroad, towns are going to grow up around the railroad, and the Northerners would not put a railroad down in the South because they thought it would extend slavery. And the slave owners, or slave states, would not put a railroad up in the North because they thought it would extend free states. And so nothing happened, and nothing happened, and nothing happened. And then in 1863, Abraham Lincoln, because the South had seceded, said, we're going to build a northern route to the railroad. And he signed legislation to do that. Now, one of the odd things about the Transcontinental Railroad is that where they started in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and San Francisco, so in between that part of the country, there was only one white settlement. Everything else was Native American land. And so that one city was Salt Lake City, Utah, where the Mormons had attempted to leave the country. They moved to Mexico, and then following the Mexican-American War, it came back to the United States. And so when they built the Transcontinental Railroad, they had one group start in California, and one group start in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and they had a race. And essentially what happened is the more track you laid, the more dollars would come your way. And the speculators, everybody thought they were insane to put money on this. The people who started out in California became some of the wealthiest men. You've heard of some of them, perhaps. Corliss Huntington was one of the people who put money up. If you've ever been on Huntington Drive, that street is named after him, or the Huntington Gardens in San Marino, which is where his house is. One of the other individuals was Leland Stanford, who made so much money, he started Stanford University up in Northern California. He became governor of California and became a very wealthy man. So anyway, this section deals with industrialization, the beginning of immigration, and then some of the excesses of the Gilded Era. So I hope you enjoy this section.